Aloha, I'm Cindy Evans, State Representative for District 7, which is on the Big Island, North Kona, South Kohala. And welcome to my show, Now What? And today I have guests, and we're going to talk about our prison system and what is called reentry programming. And that is what happens when someone is ready to go back into the community. It's a very interesting subject that's very personal and means a lot to me. Because I was chair of public safety the last time I was here at the state legislature, I really got to learn a lot about it and work with some great people in the community that are advocates and really understand the issues that are in our prisons. And today I have with me the person who is now the chair of public safety in the State House, and it's State Representative Faye Hanohano. Hi, Faye.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for inviting me to your show. What's up?
You're welcome. And I also have Kat Brady, who's with Community Alliance on Prisons. And Kat is a real advocate and has spent many years on prison issues. And so to get started, I think I'm going to ask Kat first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, so people in the audience know a little bit about your background before we get really into the meat of the discussion.
Okay. I'm a justice advocate, and I started working on prison issues around the mid-90s when I was noticing that a lot of programs were being cut, social programs were being cut, and I was trying to figure out where's all the money going. We had plenty of money in the 80s, and all of a sudden we were broke. So I went down and got these 3 big red budget books, and I brought them home, and I pored over them for several nights. And I noticed that in the state there was one budget that was constantly rising, and that was the public safety budget. And I was born with an insatiable curiosity, and I was wondering, who's in there? How come? And after doing some research and talking with people across the criminal justice system, I found out most people are in there for drugs or drug-involved crimes. So of course my next question was, well, how much drug treatment do we have? And at that point we had about 290 women at the women's prison and 15 treatment beds. And at the Waiava still has the largest treatment program in any Hawaii prisons, about 104 beds or 204 beds. But we just don't have enough. 90% of the women need treatment, and about 80 to 85% of the men need treatment. So why aren't they getting it? It's not going to help them when we know that drugs are available in prison, sadly.
Why? I mean, obviously we heard what hooked you, but how have you kept that passion and that fire in your belly? Because I know you're just passionate about this. Because you got to know people? I mean,
yeah, because I'm really motivated by love and this sense of justice. In my neighborhood when I was growing up, I was always the smallest kid and always the kid defending everybody else. So I was just born with this need to make things right. And my mom always instilled in me that when you see something wrong and you don't do anything about it, you're complicit. So, you are in the world to make it better, and you should do something. And I really took that to heart, and my whole life has really been about that. I've always worked in the nonprofit sector.
Wow, it's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you over the last few years. And I mean, you really, really are passionate, and you walk the walk.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. So now, Faye, I think let's tell the audience about you. Where are you a state representative, and what are you up to?
Well, I'm from the island Moku'okeawe, which is the Big Island, and I represent District 4 in the Punamakai area, which covers Hawaiian Acres, Hawaiian Paradise Park, Aina Loa, Kalapana, Pahoa, Kapoho. I mean, it's a really big area. Yes. And then we have the active volcano in my district, and we also have the Oli geothermal in our district also. And we've been keep growing, and it's one of the fastest growing community on the Big Island. In fact, it is, because the place, it's affordable to buy your land, and you can live there sustainable also.
Wow, that's really interesting. And now you're the chair of public safety, but I think what would be interest to the audience is your background and how I think this chairmanship really fits well with you. So tell them about your background.
Actually, I have 25 years with public safety, and I retired, but I had to take a retirement because I got elected, but it's okay. It's just working out well for me. And working in the prison system at Kulani Correctional Facility with the 25 years that I have, I was always an advocate for the inmates because I knew that they needed to have a sense of place when they came out of prisons, and I was always looking to help them to become a productive citizen. And being that the title of our job is Adult Corrections Officer, I mean, I took it to where it meant to correct the person. And there's a lot of misunderstanding of what the job really is. And I think it's actually from the department's focus that they don't really train people the right way of treating each person like a human and making sure that they'll be productive. Because we don't know when they come out where they're going to be, because they can be your neighbors. Some people might be even relatives to them. So for me, it's always giving people a chance, because everybody was born with a gift, and it's maybe they used the gifts wrongly. That's why they were incarcerated. So it's to have them find their sense of place and where they belong, and then they could be productive back to the community.
Wow, really nice to hear that, isn't it?
And I love that you said everybody was born with gifts, because I totally believe that, but not everybody knows the gift they have.
Yes, unless you explore it.
Yes.
And even if you do make a mistake, there's always a way to get back the wonderful gifts that were given to us.
Yes, there is.
Wow, and then if you get healthy and get to a point, then you can give back and help the next person when they're on their journey to finding who they are and you know what their role is to themselves, to the greater community. And you're right. I know that when I went in as chair of public safety, I had no background in prisons and understanding that. And so I toured every prison that we had, including I went to Arizona and saw where we house the male population in Saguaro and Red Rock. And I also went to Kentucky, to Otter Creek, and I saw where the women are being housed. And what I realized is if you make a mistake and you have a punishment, I think people that are in prison understand that they're punished for a behavior pattern. But if they're not talking about the behavior and why they chose that behavior that got them there in the first place, then what is the lesson to be learned? Because then they go back without having really understood that it was the behavior and what triggered the behavior, what was it that got them to the point they'd even do that, and they haven't asked that question. So if you don't ask the question, how can you kind of evolve and change? And that moves us into the discussion of why I wanted this show is to really talk about reentry back into the community. And there's, as we were speaking before the show, right now we have 3 bills that are still alive. We only have 20 days left to the session, but there's still 3 bills alive on prison reentry programming. And one is very fascinating, and that's establishing a state residential drug abuse program within a community component to help inmates reenter into the community upon their release. Now, can you chime in and tell us a little more about the vision of what this is?
Well, it's based on, this bill is based on the federal program, which has a very high success rate, much better than our treatment programs. And it's called the RDAP program, Residential Drug Abuse Program. And this program is in all the federal prisons. It's also in all our prisons, the treatment component. And it's in Saguaro and in Kentucky and in, I don't know if it's in Red Rock actually, but I know it's in Kentucky. But what the federal program has that we don't have in Hawaii is that second piece, which is the reintegration piece. And that is the crucial piece, because treatment, you learn a lot of ways of recognizing the behaviors that trigger your drug abuse or alcohol abuse. You learn a lot of the tools that you need to avoid relapse, but while you're in treatment, it's very safe, and you don't really get to apply the tools. This program would be the second phase of that, and it's already proven by the federal government, and it's the second phase of that where we're recommending that at OCCC, because we don't have money to actually fund community programs at this point, we're saying, why don't we take some part of OCCC, which is right on the bus line, which is where all reentry programs should be, near public transportation, and carve out maybe 20 or 30 men who have gone through the RDAP program successfully, and then start this reentry phase so that they would go out to work and then come back to the prison at night and have group therapy or meeting with their case managers.
And have a support group,
yes,
right?
to help them deal with the temptations in the free world, as they say. And in 1995, the federal government realized that all the research shows that incentives work for drug offenders, not sanctions. So to foster success, they said anybody who completes the RDAP treatment program and the RDAP reentry phase would be eligible for taking 1 year off their sentence. So imagine if we did that in Hawaii. I mean, imagine if we had a program, this phase 2, with 100 men, and say only 50 made it. We would save, $2.5 million a year.
That's right.
That's right.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
That's
and
right.
stuff that we could actually be doing other things with.
Well, the idea of incentives is an interesting one, because I know that I explored it, and it was amazing how many people resisted it because they get angry at people for violating the law and say, well, let's just punish, punish, punish. But the point is that if someone serves their time and does everything right, doesn't cause, works their programming, is really a good prisoner, works, doesn't cause trouble, follows the rules, does everything, then then what? So then you come out, and if you come out, you have not enough money to, where do you live? Where do you get your first and last month's rent? And where, how do you get your job? How do you get your transportation to and from work? There's all these life skills and living skills and things to succeed. So if they do everything right, wanting to turn themselves around, and then all of a sudden they're put out,
it's scary. I can tell you, it's very scary.
It would be very scary. So this re-entry idea, or this where you go out, come back, get your support, get kind of help, get that, okay, kind of counsel me, help me along here, because I've got it. Because I know the Maui, there was the Maui
Best
program has been successful because they are there to support the person when they get their first job, when they get their first girlfriend. That means that when they can come and talk story and say, oh my God, I had my first fight with my girlfriend, and you got to help me here because I'm feeling angry, or that trigger thing, the things, and so all of a sudden now they actually feel like someone wants them to succeed, someone cares about. And sometimes when you have strong feelings, you don't want to go to your family and talk about it. You want to go and talk to someone who isn't going to judge you. Well, and they're neutral. They're not going to judge you. They're going to be a good listener. They're going to say, I acknowledge your feelings. That your feelings come from a very strong place, and can sit there and maybe help you process it. Which people have to be trained in that, and family members aren't trained in that. Right?
And the research shows that punishment actually increases recidivism by 7%. Inappropriate treatment increases by 6%. So, that's a problem. So when we have a program that's working at the federal level and we know that it's working, let's do the whole Megillah, the treatment and the reentry phase, because we know it's proven. We don't have to try it to see if it'll work. We know that it's works, and they have very good, outcome numbers. That's what we need to be looking at.
Okay, well, let's think about this for a minute, though. OCCC obviously is in a community that's used to having a prison and also work furlough programs, so they're used to seeing people getting on the bus and back and forth. And OCCC, for those who don't know, is in Oahu, and it's near the it's between the airport and downtown Honolulu.
Right.